Welcome to Integrity Inspire, your daily dose of inspiration and motivation, featuring the bright and talented members of the Integrity Marketing Group family. Now, here's your host, Integrity co-founder and CEO, Brian W. Adams.
Hello, and thanks so much for joining today's Inspire podcast. I'm so excited to welcome another incredible new partner to the Integrity family and another young guy who is just doing some incredible things in this business. And I'm so excited to welcome Calvin Wright from the Forefront Agency to the Integrity family. And I can't wait for you to hear some of his story because it is incredible. Hey, Calvin, thanks so much for joining us, man.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate you for having me.
Hey, buddy, I'm so excited to learn more about what you guys are doing. I just got to meet your wife, Kylie, and super excited about all the things that are going on in your life, your business, everything else. Tell us a little bit about your business, how you got started.
I got started in the industry about 2.5, 3 years ago. Introduced with...
Did you hear that? 2.5 to 3 years ago. Got into this business, and now, not even 30 yet, and now is just crushing it. This is the American dream, and this is what this industry is all about. So I'm sorry to interrupt, man. It's just amazing to see guys come in and build such a massive business in such a short time, and the opportunity we have is just, we need just more people like you in this business.
I appreciate the kind words. It's an awesome place to be. The business is great. So I was in the military for 7 years prior to that, and then transitioned into like a small corporate America job for a short period of time, realized it wasn't a good fit for me. I've known Zach for 15 years and I gave him a ring and I was like, hey, what's this insurance thing? Can you explain it? I don't really understand how it works. Yeah. He explained it to me. I got my license in 7 days and we hit the ground running. I was like, I need to figure this out because I'm ready to move.
So when you're talking about Zach, that's Zach Twardowski. Zach is one of our youngest ever partners and you guys grew up together, and Zach's just a remarkable young guy, and people remember his podcast. He was going to medical school, but wasn't passionate about it. Everybody in his life, his parents, his wife, everybody in his life are doctors. And then his dad said, why are you doing this? And he was like, because I want to make you proud and you're a doctor. And he's like, you're doing this for the wrong reasons. And so he found his passion in building his business and has done an amazing job. And he's just such a great leader. So proud to call him a partner, and now having you become one of the youngest partners is super exciting. Now, you said you were in the military, and there's a lot of, I have so much respect for people who've served in the military. My dad is a Marine. I made the mistake one time of saying he was a Marine, and boy, don't ever say that. He is a Marine. I love people who served our country, but man, you did it at next level. So you were Army Airborne, and I want to talk about that because that sounds amazing. But you also went and became a Ranger, Army Ranger certified. And so, you took it all the way, and you're just, this is inspiring. So how did you get into the Army, and how did you become airborne? Let's start there.
So in the middle of graduating high school, like any teenager would be doing, and I didn't know. All my friends were going to college, Zach, all my buddies were going to college, and I knew that wasn't really my deal. I wasn't super interested in that. And so I talked to a couple of recruiters. I figured this might be the best route. And during that negotiation process, I was like, hey, I would like to jump out of airplanes. If I can negotiate that in my contract in the beginning, that'd be awesome. And so they kind of tossed me a bone in the beginning. So I was able to secure a job for reconnaissance with an airborne contract. That doesn't guarantee that you're going to become airborne qualified. That means that they guarantee you a slot to that school. So I went to basic training, got qualified in my MOS, and then went to airborne school.
What's MOS stand for?
It's basically like your job.
Okay.
It's your code for your position in the Army.
Right.
And so that was my position was reconnaissance, and with an emphasis in airborne operations. So the goal of that position would be you would fly to a location, you would jump in behind enemy lines, you would hit the ground, and then you would survey the area, report back to the command team, and then they would develop the situation for the battlefield and make execution decisions based on what you're observing.
Golly, man. There's a lot to that. Have you ever watched the movie or the series Band of Brothers?
Just like that.
That is one of my favorite series. My wife and I watch it every year around Thanksgiving. It's something that we don't even talk about. It's just like, hey, we got to watch Band of Brothers, and talking about like Bastogne and like what they're doing. And I love the fact that whenever Patton came in and said that he rescued them, they were like, we never needed rescuing at all. I mean, those guys were just total badasses in so many ways, man. So you would jump out of a plane. So what's that like, jumping out of a plane in the military?
It's a lot longer process than you would think. So it's a lot of preparation, a lot of checks and balances.
Are you packing your own bag and stuff?
That's a separate job field. So their only job is to pack the parachutes. So they would have all the parachutes
I have a lot of trust in that, bro.
A lot. They have to assign their name to make sure it's good.
Really?
Yeah, because every time there's a malfunction, there's an investigation.
Yeah.
So you would go to like a hangar that you would see at the airfield, and there'd be 100, 200, 300 people, soldiers there, and then you would have special, like what's called a jump master, who would inspect each person's parachute, make sure that you're good to, it's going to open, essentially, and then you wait there for a long period of time until they're ready to load the aircraft. You load the aircraft. They would call what's like mapping the Earth, where they would fly around and make sure, simulate war.
Yeah.
And they would come down to about 1,200 feet, 1,800 feet elevation, and then it'd be a mass exit, and you would all exit the aircraft every 3 seconds. And then after 6 seconds of being in the air, the parachute should open, and then you hit the ground, maybe a minute after that, and then you grab your stuff and you walk to the wood line.
Wow. What is that like, man? The first time, what's that like?
The first time, there's a common saying, the first time is always a nighttime jump because your eyes might be a little closed. So it's a little nerve-wracking in the beginning because you don't want to mess anything up. You don't want to fail the course. But they train you, they make you comfortable, and they make sure that you're going to be okay. But you just have to have a lot of trust in your equipment and a lot of trust in the people in front of you that are taking care of you.
Man, there's a lot you can learn from what you just said in a lot of different areas. But so you jump out of the aircraft. I've always wanted to skydive. I've always wanted to. I don't think our board would want me to do that right now, so maybe I'm going to wait a little while. My mom, when she turned 60, my mom said, I'm going to go skydiving today, and you want to come to my dad? And my dad's like, no, didn't think anything of it. She leaves and literally goes skydiving when she was 60 years old and just went. She was like, I've always wanted to do this. I'm going to do it. So maybe that's what I'll do one day. But it sounds so cool. Would you ever do that just for fun now, or that was work?
That was all work related, so it wasn't. There was a lot of growing pains in there. I did it once privately.
You don't usually jump from 1,200 feet either. That's that is low, man.
It's a fast experience, and you don't control your parachute. It's kind of just a descent, and it's more of like it's a hit and roll. There's like 5 points of contact: ankles, knee, buttocks, lat, shoulder, and then roll back, just to make sure it's a smooth transition.
Is it hard? It's hurt?
It's jolted? A thump.
A little jolting.
It's a little bit of a thump.
So then you land.
Yeah.
And you just grab your chute, you pack it back up, and then you run to the tree line. What is that like?
Yeah. So basically, you land. The next thing you need to do is unclip the parachute so you don't get dragged across the ground. So you'd unclip it, and then the first course of action would be to put your weapon in operation. So you'd grab your equipment, make sure that if you were to take contact, you're prepared. And then you'd pack your parachute in like a war situation. You would leave the parachute. If in training scenario, you would grab it with all of your equipment, drop it off on wherever the closest road is, and then walk to the tree line where there'd be an assembly area, and you would meet the rest of the platoon or leaders there.
Wow. So then the work starts, right? And then now you're there, and now you got to do the recon work, right?
There's work to do at that point. Lots of walking.
Man, a lot of walking. So most people would say, look, that is about as good as it gets. I mean, you're jumping out of airplanes and getting paid for it, and you're getting to serve your country. But you said, look, I want to do more. And so you went on to be Ranger qualified. I mean, this is the elite of the elite. It's like less than 1% of the entire Army. It's like the Navy SEALs, the Delta Force, right? And then the Rangers. Tell us about what was that like?
So early in my career, I realized that all of the most successful leaders and the most driven leaders and the ones that had the most experience and the ones you wanted to follow or walk behind, because they always had like a follow me approach, and always were Ranger qualified or had a Ranger tab. And I set that as my next thing to do for my career. I was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I make sure that will give me a direction that I need to head to be successful, not only in the military, but in life. And so you have to do all these like pre-courses and pre-tests to be able to get into Ranger school and just pack it and leadership recognition, all these different things to get into the school.
Yeah.
So once you actually get into the school, the course is like 60 or 62 days, but the retention rate, like a lot of people, more than 50% of people fail that course.
It has to be hard as can be, man.
It's a pretty tough course. So once you get to the course, it's like swamp phase, mountain phase, and then Florida phase, which is like desert phase. And each phase, they grade you peer evaluation, a leadership evaluation, and tactics knowledge.
Yeah.
And so they grade you on these three categories, and you have to pass all three of them. You can't miss one, or you redo.
You have to redo. Now, most people, as I understand, have to redo. I mean, that's just common knowledge. Like it's kind of like taking the insurance test for a lot of us. You had to take it twice.
Yeah.
But for you, I understand you passed every single phase and never had to retake that.
Yeah, it was a rewarding experience for me. The leadership at the time actually, which I didn't mention earlier, was sent me to Normandy as like, thank you, hey, good job. And I went and did a D-Day jump I met a bunch of like the people that live in the town in Normandy, and it was a really cool experience.
So you landed on Omaha Beach?
Yeah, we walked on Omaha Beach. We did a jump into Normandy on German soil with German parachute,
Wow.
Did a reenactment. I met tons of people. It was really cool.
Dude, that is awesome, man. Were y'all jumping out of old planes, or what was the planes like?
For that particular situation, they had a bunch of different NATO allies there, and they would assign each group of soldiers to a different ally, and then you would trade equipment, and then you would get on their. So I got on the German parachute, German aircraft, German instructor, and he's speaking German. Get out of the plane. And we jump out the plane and hit the ground. It's totally different equipment.
Oh my gosh, were you cool with it?
Were
you worried at all?
I was like, all right, well,
Let's go.
we're going to figure it out.
Oh my gosh, man, that had to be so cool. And think about just looking back on that and being able to say, I've never been to Normandy. I've always wanted to go. But just being able to say you actually jumped there and you walked on the beach is amazing. The sacrifice, like I said, watching Band of Brothers, the sacrifice that the greatest generation gave was tremendous. But that camaraderie and just you kind of felt this right after 9/11 as well, is like just how many people felt like we're all in this together, man. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
On behalf of all of us, we can't say thank you enough, frankly. I mean, it's amazing the service that you guys have done to protect us. And I wish the country would come together more with that idea of like, man, this is the greatest country on earth, and we have the greatest people in the world protecting it. And we need to look at the things we've got in common more than what we've got negative. And I wish we could get back to that. And I know we will at some point, but man, that's awesome. Now, after you got out of that, you've continued to stay athletic and continued to compete. I think if you're doing that for so long, it's hard to get that out of your blood, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Steve Young. I was with Steve not too long ago, and his back was like hurting him. I was like, Steve, what happened? He was like, man, I was running sprints the other day, and man, I kind of tweaked my back. I was like, you're running sprints, bro? Like, what do you run sprints for? And he's like, that's what we do. Yeah, so you took that to the next level with Ironman competitions, and I watched some of the stuff Zach was posting as well. You guys were out there competing on Ironman. So Ironman, just for people who don't know, so you're running, biking, and swimming. What is that like?
Yeah, so the swim, bike, run is a unique event. It tests you in a lot of different areas, and it's pretty hard. So we started off doing a really small one. It's called sprint, so it's much shorter distances. And then we went to the half Ironman level. Just we're like, this is a great achievement. We should definitely work towards that. And the swim it's a long swim. It took about like 30, 40 minutes, and then you transition straight into a bike. The bike ride's about 2.5, 3 hours, and then you follow that up with.
So you're soaking wet, right?
Soaking wet for the first part of the bike.
And you get on the bike, and it's just like,
dry
here
off.
we go, dry off.
Yeah.
The old-fashioned way, just air dry, huh?
Air dry, yeah.
Oh
and
my gosh.
You're all geared up and just riding into the wind, and you're coming back on the bike, and it's time to run. So you're working different muscles through each activity. So you get off the bike, your hips are a little bit tight, and things are a little funky because you've been in this position for a while, and then it's time to run a half marathon. And the first couple miles, you're just working it out, getting the kinks worked out, and getting in the groove. nutrition is super important during these races. You really have to make sure that you're
Yeah.
eating and taking care of yourself, or else you'll start cramping up and you won't finish.
What do you think it is about you and others that have served in special forces that what is that just go like, I'm taking it to the next level?
I think it's just it's not good enough yet, maybe attitude, or just like there's more room to grow. So I think a lot of people that you see that are knocking down Ranger School or Special Operations community just are trying to be at the most elite level of their career field and get involved with the same people, just like integrity. Like integrity is like the elite piece of the insurance industry. So you want to be a part of that group. So once you see it, you're like, how do I get there? And then here's the pathway to it. So I think the people with those mindsets, it doesn't die off after you reach there. You still want to find something to keep you going that's going to make you excited every day.
You know, that's such an interesting point. I also have read, I've read a lot about Navy SEALs and Rangers and others, that it's usually the most humble people that make it through, right? They're willing to outwork you. They may not have been, the biggest bodybuilder or the strongest guy. It was just humble person who was willing. And man, the SEALs I know are some of the most humble, good-hearted people, and like yourself. They're just like, I'm here for a purpose. I want to be around the best, right? And that's what we found here at Integrity a lot, is that it's not people that were the most successful. It's not the people that were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. It's people who are just want to be around the best, want to be associated with the best, and are humble and hardworking. And that there's so many different ways you can kind of think about how do you find, and then you think about how do you find other people like that. So how's your recruiting been, recruiting new agents? How has that been informed by some of the experiences you've had?
We target a lot of people leaving the service, just because when you're leaving the military, there's not a clear path for most people. They're like, you can go to college, you can use your benefits, go to college, or you can join the workforce.
Yeah.
And join the workforce, it would be some monotonous maybe job that you're not totally interested in after leaving the military with this crazy structure. So we provide the structure for those people coming out and say, hey, I was there. I was in your shoes. I know what it feels like when you're leaving. You feel like you lost maybe a parent or a home. You were part of something. Let's bring you back part of something. Let's get you back to that same mindset and give you the tools so that way you can find your most elevated self.
Yeah, man, that is really cool. And I think that there's so many people that need to hear that story and that need to be part of something bigger than themselves. And you've gone through all this amazing training, and it's all about serving others, right? I mean, what you were doing is about serving others, and that's what we're doing here at Integrity, and really this insurance industry and financial services overall is about just serving other people. What are you most excited about now partnering with Integrity?
The lead center has been huge for our business. I'm super excited about all the technology that they've been dumping into it, improvements, and just making sure that agents have the best quality leads they can get their hands on very fast is going to make it a big difference for our agents. So I'm really excited about the Integrity Lead Center.
So, we're passionate about innovating insurance and financial services in every way we can. And it's all about making sure that the consumer gets the best product and service that they need to fulfill their need. And part of that is by innovating with technology. And so some of the things we've done with Ask Integrity, with Medicare Center, what we're working on with Life Center and some of the other areas, it's all about how do we put the agents and the advisors in a better position, make it more efficient for them, and ultimately make it more beneficial to the consumer. And so, man, we're excited about how we can partner together, provide, we'll be the guys who can kind of pack the parachute, so to speak, make sure we get it right, and then make sure that we're giving you all the tools you need and your team all the tools you need so that when you're there, you can, and on the ground, you can be the most successful. So, man, I'm so inspired by your leadership, by your service to our country, and certainly by just the youth that you guys are bringing into this industry. I remember I started Integrity. Whenever I went out on my own, I was 27, and everybody, we were always like the youngest guys in the room in most of the rooms that we would be in. And Tom and Mike and I and some others, Ryan Kimball, we all kind of gravitated to each other because we were the youngest guys in the room. And it was all about how do we do this different? Like, how do we grow it bigger? How do we do this with more scale and do it the right way? And that's why we named it Integrity. And so looking back, I sit there and go, man, seeing you and Zach and Nina and Hayden and so many other of our amazing partners that are young, energetic, we are so excited to have you as part of the Integrity family. I can't wait to see what we can accomplish together, man.
We're so thankful for having us part of the team and inviting us to come view this beautiful office. I mean, I'm a loss for words for how excited we are.
Well, hey, man, we're super excited to be your partner. Can't wait to see where you and Kylie and your entire team end up, and we're just proud to be your partner and can't wait to see where we go from here, because together there's no limit to what we can achieve. So, ladies and gentlemen, man, I hope y'all are as inspired by another just amazing story, an American hero, somebody who just gave selflessly and just did it at the highest level, and then now is doing that here at Integrity. With guys like this, there's no limit to what we can achieve. So I hope everybody has a great week. God bless y'all, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.